All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our practice questions series where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please subscribe. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials. The link is in the comments below. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. You, a behavior analyst, work with two other behavior analysts and a team of 15 behavior technicians. You all split the technician supervision duties equally. You find out that one of the supervisors is in a romantic relationship with one of their supervisees. How should you first approach this situation? So, what we have here is an ethics question and a supervision question all in one. And what we want to remember about ethical conundrums and ethical situations is unless somebody was harmed, as in a client or somebody else, you always want to try to resolve the ethics situation with the person who may have committed the violation. Meaning, if you notice someone's done something unethical, confront them first or ask them about it first. And then, if you can't resolve it, take it a step further if you must. So in this case, we have you, who is a behavior analyst, and two other behavior analysts on a team. One of the supervisors is in a romantic relationship with one of their supervisees. Now, that's the crux of the issue. Is it a problem for a supervisor and a supervisee to be in a romantic relationship? Yes, it is okay for you to be friends with your supervisees, but you cannot be in a romantic relationship with them if you are their supervisor. So if you've noticed this is occurring and you know it's an ethical issue, what should you do? A, ignore it. It is none of your business. Well, given that it is part of your company, part of your team, it is your business. Now, ethically, you have the right to address it and then wash your hands of it. Meaning, as long as you're addressing it, you're not going to be liable, but you need to take some sort of action because these people might not even know it's an issue. So you can't ignore it. B, confront the supervisor and report them to the board. Now, this is what we just talked about. You do want to confront them, and confront's a strong word, right? You just want to meet with them and talk to them about it. But there's no need to report to them to the board just yet. You just found out maybe they didn't even know, maybe it's new. You have to figure out the whole situation first before taking more drastic measures. C, offer to supervise the technician instead to avoid ethics violations. This is the best option. If a romantic relationship were to occur between a supervisor and a supervisee, they must terminate that supervision relationship immediately. So, as a team member, offering to supervise a technician is a good way to avoid these type of violations. And then D, fire the behavior technician if they do not break up with the supervisor. Well, we're not there yet, one. And two, the supervisor is just as responsible. So we can't just fire the technician because the supervisor is equally as responsible for this ethical scenario. But we're not there yet. The first thing we're going to want to do is try to resolve it with the supervisor. And how do we do that? We can offer to supervise the technician instead to avoid ethics violations. Ronnie is on a strict diet to make sure he gets enough protein before his bodybuilding competition in 2 weeks. On a typical day, Ronnie will wake up at 7 a.m. and eat breakfast at 8 a.m. He will eat another meal at 10 a.m., another meal at 1 p.m., and then at 4 p.m., 6 p.m., and 7 p.m. What is Ronnie's average into response time? We have a measurement question where we are looking at into response time and the average, right? You need to know how to find averages for the exam because as an analyst, you're going to be dealing with a lot of averages. So the first thing we want to do is just make sure we understand into response time, time in between two responses. So from the end of one response to the beginning of the next. Now on the exam, you might get some broad numbers like this. And so your into response time is going to be time in between your times, right? And that's a little confusing said out loud. But what we mean is Ronnie wants to make sure he gets enough protein. And so he wants to eat a lot of food. We know Ronnie wakes up at 7 a.m. and the first breakfast or the first meal is at 8 a.m. So our first response is breakfast at 8 a.m. Now, when we look at into response time, we're looking time in between responses. So how much time passes between breakfast and the next meal? Well, the next meal is at 10 a.m. So we have 2 hours. The next meal is at 1 p.m., so 3 hours. 4 p.m., 3 more hours. 6 p.m., 1 hour. 7 p.m., 2 hours. And those are our inter-response time data points. And so let's look at this from an average standpoint. We have 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., which is 2, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., 3, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., 3, 4 to 6, 2, 6 to 1, 7. Add those up. What do we get? We get 5, 8, 10, 11. 11. So we have 11 total as our inter-response time. And now we need to find our average. So we're going to divide 11 by the number of data points, which is 5. And when you divide 11 by 5, what do you get? You get 2.2. And so our average inter-response time is 2.2 hours. Not a difficult question. You just have to know how to find averages and how to find inter-response time. If you can do that, this is a very straightforward measurement question. 1 hour doesn't make sense, right? 1 hour is from the time he wakes up to eats breakfast, but does not have to do with the inter-response time. 2 hours is not our average, and we can determine it based on this information. So again, you need to know how to find averages. Most of you likely do, and that's great, right? If you do, these measurement questions are going to be very, very straightforward. Following 3 weeks of token economy implementation, Victor notices that his clients are able to obtain all backup reinforcers relatively easily compared to the number of tokens that they are earning. This has reduced the response rate of the clients because they know they won't need many tokens to earn reinforcement. What is something Victor should try in response to this problem? Let's remember, every question we want to answer exactly what is asked of us. In this case, we are going to address Victor's problem. What problem is Victor having? Well, what do we know so far? We know there's a token economy being implemented. We know that Victor sees that his clients are earning backup reinforcement easily compared to the number of tokens they're earning, and that they have stopped responding because they don't need many tokens to earn reinforcement. So said another way, right? They know that they don't have to respond a lot. They don't need to earn a lot of tokens because they can easily obtain all the backup reinforcers. That's a problem because it's reduced the response rate. They don't need to respond as much because they don't need to earn as many tokens because it's very easy to gain those backup reinforcers. Well, how can Victor address this issue? A, increase the number of luxury items available. Well, it doesn't seem to be the number of items, right? Given what we know is even if he added items, they have plenty of tokens. The problem is that ratio, right? Where they're earning tokens too easily and everything's too cheap, right? Where they can continue earning tokens at a very high rate and buying all the reinforcers, so they don't have to respond that much. So increasing the number of luxury items is not going to directly address the problem. B, increase the cost of backup items, which would devalue the tokens. Okay, if the cost of the backup items increased, that would mean they need more tokens. And that's going to have to increase the response rate because in order to get the backup items, they are now going to have to earn more tokens, do more responding. So B is pretty good. C, keep the tokens earned to item cost ratio small. Well, we want to keep that ratio small. It's small right now, meaning the amount of tokens earned is small compared to the amount of tokens earned, right, to the cost is small, meaning they don't have to earn a lot of tokens to buy the backup reinforcers. And that's the problem we're facing. And then D, reduce the number of available backup reinforcers. Again, not the issue, right? They can buy all the reinforcers. They have plenty of tokens. So to combat that, we're going to have to make things more expensive and devalue the tokens. So they have to earn more tokens and respond at a higher rate to earn those tokens. Token economies are very organic. You don't just set it and forget it. You constantly evaluate, is it still motivating? Does the economy still make sense? Are the items still good? Token economy is a very fluid, organic thing. An 8-year-old boy starts to engage in aggression while transitioning between activities. Now, Travis is providing the boy toy trucks if the boy is calm for 3 minutes following the transition. After 2 weeks, the boy is now calm during transitions. What did Travis use? Okay, pretty straightforward consequence question, but it does require a little bit of analytic thought. All right, we're trying to figure out, what did Travis use? Well, what do we know about Travis and the boy? We know the 8-year-old is engaging in aggression for transitions. Now, Travis is giving the boy toy trucks if the boy is calm for 3 minutes following the transition. As a result, the boy is now calm during transitions. And this is where you have to think a little bit, because we have two different things going on. We have aggression, which we clearly want to reduce. And then we have this new behavior of quote unquote being calm. And remember, if we're in practice, right, we're going to describe it or define it differently than calm. But on the exam, you've just got to work with what the question gives you, right? So don't argue with the question. So if the boy is calm for 3 minutes following the transition, gets a toy truck, and then after 2 weeks, the boy is now calm during all transitions or during transitions, what happened? Well, calmness increased. Now, we didn't say aggression decreased. All we know is that calmness increased during transitions. So if calmness increased, what did Travis use? A, Travis used punishment to decrease aggression. We don't have anything stating aggression decreased. We know calmness increased. That's what we know. And if something increased, it couldn't have been punishment and it couldn't have been extinction, because those are reduction strategies. It had to be some sort of reinforcement. And so what appears to have happened is Travis used positive reinforcement to increase calm behavior, because we know for sure Travis, or the boy, when calm, received toy trucks as a consequence. As a result, boy is now calm during transitions. Calmness increased. Travis used reinforcement to increase calm behavior. A behavior analyst designs an experiment that involves 3 different interventions. She wants to try each intervention and see the effects on behavior, but is worried that once the client learns the skill, they may not be able to unlearn the skill. What type of experimental design should the behavior analyst consider first if this is her primary objective? So we have an experimental design question, and we want to help the analyst pick the design she's going to use. Now, what is her primary objective? What's the concern here? Well, she has 3 different interventions. She wants to try each intervention to see the effects on behavior, but is worried that when the client learns the skill, they can't unlearn the skill. Very common concern, especially in education. A lot of times, if you teach somebody something, especially kids who are learning to read, write, do math, they don't just forget it. And so we have to be smart if we're going to try to compare interventions. Now, when we look at 3 different interventions and say, let's look at a reversal design, how might that look? Well, we're going to need different conditions, right? So we're going to need our baseline condition and then our first intervention. We're going to reverse back to baseline and then go back to the next intervention. So what's happened there? Well, we've picked the first intervention, we've done it, and we've gone back to baseline. What happens if the first intervention was successful and the client can't unlearn their skill? Well, the next intervention is going to be compromised because the first intervention was already successful. And simply because of the order of the interventions, that's going to maybe mess up the true data. And that's what we talk about when we talk about sequence effects. The order of the treatments may affect the outcomes. And so, would a reversal design be a good choice here if her primary objective is to reduce that fear? Probably not, right? A reversal design is not going to be great if the fear is they won't unlearn that skill. Now, what about a multiple baseline and multiple probe? It's kind of the same thing here, because you've got 3 different interventions. And so you have, let's say, multiple clients or multiple settings. Well, you're going to do one intervention with the multiple baseline. You're going to finish that and then go on to your next multiple baseline. Again, what if they learn the skill during the first multiple baseline or multiple probe? That's a problem. If we want to control for those sequence effects, multi-element designs are often the best because we're rapidly changing between these interventions. Now, it's a little confusing because multi-element designs are very good at controlling for sequencing effects and controlling for carryover. But at the same time, there's still suspect to it. if you look at a lot of multi-element design graphs over a long period of time, you often see the data paths growing closer together. And why might that be? Well, as interventions go on, kids learn, and the difference in interventions shrinks because the skill level goes up. So even though multi-element designs are good at controlling for sequence events, there is a possibility that as the multi-element design goes on longer and longer, that those interventions become less distinguishable because of learning. So you just got to be careful. There's no perfect answer here. But given our information, the best design to control for what the analyst wants to control for would be D, a multi-element design. All right, thank you for watching. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all your study materials. Please let us know when you pass the exam so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. As always, work hard, study hard, and we'll see you soon.